Welcome back, everyone. This is the image I left you with last time, which was called Finding Images and Abstractions. And I told you I'd show you the finished piece, and this is the finished piece now. So today we're going to start again with another fresh piece. This is part 2 of merging abstraction with realism. That was my previous video that had the most watches on my channel so far. Some of you have requested some further examination of merging abstraction with realism, so we're going to try that again today. So here I am just applying water to get this started, and just like last time, I'm going to start with ink, and I'm going to bring some yellow ochre, yellow, and some green to the mix. I think we'll start first of all with an ochre color. And I'm liking the way this bleeds. This is on 140-pound cold press watercolor paper. This is generally my go-to piece when I work on watercolor paper. So I've got the ochre in. I'm going to bring some yellow into the mix, and we'll see how that combines with the other color I'm going to bring in also, which is going to be this green here. We're just going to continue sprinkling this in and let the colors bleed as they may. I'm not too concerned. I'm going to bring some water back into it with the spray bottle because I'm going to blend this out with a plastic bottle, and this really gets it going in terms of how these colors will blend. So just a couple of swipes through here. I really like that look. It really blends quite well with the bottle. Just kind of sweeping back and forth, and you can still see all the remnants of the colors I started with the ink. Now I'm going to bring some brown, a darker brown to the mix, and just going to sprinkle that at the top to start. And I think I'll go back here with my spray bottle and kind of bring some of that further down. I always enjoy watching the ink bleed out and bloom. So the bottle comes back, and you can see some of that picks up on the bottle as it goes down and leaves some of these really nice textured effects. Every day online I see a lot of people discussing their dreams, and I think dreams kind of go in with making art as the way we're doing right here today. Of course, I've always thought about that even as I started off as a young kid. And I remember at my high school graduation, a guy, I don't remember who this person was, but as we were getting ready to walk down to graduate, he talked to some of us and said, just don't say what if later in life. And of course, we're all going to go on our journeys, and there's going to be some regrets, but I never forgot him telling me that. And so I've always tried to think about things like that as I've progressed in my life, but I still dream when I make art. As I bring in some rubbing alcohol here, you've seen this before. I also did the salt before that, so I'm trying to build the texture on the surface, and it's getting a little dreamy look right now, which is my intention. Of course, the dreams we had when we were younger changes and shifts as we go towards middle age and beyond. So they're always changing, but the one thing I can say is every time I make art, I do feel like I'm still back at age 17, 18 years old. It's timeless. How do you feel about that? I definitely have that sensation as I make this work. So I'm bringing back in the water-soluble pastel again, and I'm just going to start bringing some lines across the page. So what kind of dreams have you tried to chase in your life? Have they changed? Have they shifted? Are you still chasing that dream? Or do you have a new one now? I always like comments. I always like discussing things with my viewers. And I try to be as honest as I can when I make these works. I don't know about you, but when I make art, a lot of the big questions come into play. I think a lot about my past, my present, my future. They all kind of come streaming in. And basically, this exercise I'm doing right now is automatic drawing. I have nothing I'm looking at. I'm just making marks across the page. Whatever comes into my brain, into my hand, into my coordination, I just go with it. I've been doing this for a while, so the first time you do automatic drawing, it feels awkward. But the more you do it, the more you realize that you subconsciously bring the principles of design and all kinds of mark making into what you're doing. Right now, at this stage in the piece, I still do not have a clear idea of what this will develop into. And I'm just kind of trusting my intuition. And once again, I keep talking about this, but it's true. I think about the principles of design as I go through, making repetitive marks, having a sense of rhythm, pushing the contrast. What kind of unity and variety can I bring into it? Of course, these are all formal qualities that we've learned if you've studied design. Of course, it's always good to break those rules after you've learned them. But I think it's necessary to go through and see what they are before you get to that stage. There's another video I've made called Balancing Act. You can find it on my playlist with the abstractions. And right now I'm trying to balance the page. I've got the heavy horizontal lines on both sides of the paper, and I'm trying to give a sense of balance of weight as I go back and forth. So I'm bringing in a purple ink, acrylic ink again, and I'll be working with this to continue to push that sense of balance and composition. I remember one of my first lessons in drawing class when I was in school was, can you draw lines, geometric lines, without using a ruler? And it's a great. I think it's a good practice to try that. It definitely helps steady your hand. You get to the point where you feel more confident in making lines. Of course, I'm trying to bring a wavy line with this, what I'm doing right now. The purple I'm putting in right now is an attempt to balance those brown circular shapes here at the bottom of the paper. And I'm just using more acrylic ink and probably a little bit more water to kind of blend that out. I try to do at least a couple of background abstractions like this per day. So by week's end, I've probably got, a lot of times I'll have 7 to 8 pieces where I've started, and then I start making selections about what I want to do for the realistic part or the representational image I'll be putting into it. And sometimes that's intuitive, sometimes I work from a photo reference, but generally if I do work from a photo reference, it's just at the start, and the rest is done intuitively. I just try to work from memory at that point. Okay, here's a close-up of what I've just done, and this is from start to finish when I start with a blank piece of paper. And you can see, hopefully I've got a sense of rhythm, some repetition, some unity, variety, some balance. And now I'm going to go back into my acrylics, and I'm going to start bringing in my realism or my representational drawing, and I'm going to bring in a house. So I'm bringing in kind of a light greenish brown color that will be the roof. I got the idea for this house from a photo I took on one of my walks, but I'm not going to use it directly because I looked at the house. I'm trying now to paint it from memory. So this is something I often do, not only with houses or landscapes, but also with objects and people. I have had a few regrets and a few what ifs since I left my high school graduation, but overall, I think I've chosen a path. The biggest path I had that I wanted to pursue was to make art, and I do that on a daily basis. Having a YouTube channel has been a great way for me to explore some of my thoughts, and just by talking with all of you out there, it's taught me how to communicate even hopefully better with all of you, but trying to be as honest and authentic as I can be when I make these. It's springtime here as I make this painting today, so I'm not sure what season you'll be in when you watch this clip, but I'm just bringing in some bushy trees, and the colors I feel like I used to start the image are more spring-like. And I think after the long winter, a lot of people kind of get in the doldrums, and I think color is something that's always brought me out of them, and I need color. I needed to use it and experience it every day. Okay, I'm going to bring in another material to here today, and that's a paint stick. This is an oil paint stick, a Shiva oil paint stick, and this is something I've used in previous videos. Sometimes it's a little hard to get it started, but you have to tear back some of the skin, and it will come on, and it really does look like oil paint. So I like using this in spots, so you can see the lines on the right, how I did that. This is a pen tool for using scratch board, the black scratch board. So I like to use this also in the oil the oil stick. Okay, I'm going to bring this a little further out over the yellow so you can see those lines better when I scratch into it. And this is going to be a little clearer than the one I just did. So I've made entire drawings out of this method. This is kind of Sgraffito. The Sgraffito method is an Italian word, and this can also bring you some really nice textures. Here's another one here in the other side of the drawing, and here's one up here that I also used some ink outlining with. Okay, now I'm going to bring a figure into this, and this is another piece, another photo reference I had that I looked at, and now I'm going to try to recreate it from memory. I really have never really been all that interested in making photo representational artwork, and I like the kind of the haphazard kind of dreamy type quality of finding something from using intuitive and memory devices. Here's the outline. Here's what I colored in, and this is water soluble pastels. So I'm going to go back in with my water and kind of bring those colors out. The second you touch it with the water, it gets a little brighter. Okay, now that it's dry, I'm going to come back in with my acrylic ink and my nib pen, and I'm going to go ahead and kind of outline some of that, just to give it a little bit more depth and strength. And I'm just going to go around into the neck, down into the shoulders, and I got a little bit of too much ink on the hat, so I'm just going to take a paper towel, dab that out, let it dry, and I'll go back into it here in a second. Once again, I love these pens. They give me a really nice edge when I go into draw. You can get thick on certain parts if you press down and thinner if you release the pressure. But it really gives that ghostly appearance, which, as you've seen my videos, I really That's a part of my repertoire, is I love working with transparency and opacity. Okay, and I'm getting to that point here. I'm going to stop, and I'm going to give you a pullback view. This is not completely done close. I will show you in a subsequent video the finished piece, but I hope you've enjoyed the journey with me here today talking about dreams and abstractions. If you like the video, please subscribe. I'll see you next time.